Hello everyone and welcome back to another video sisterly conversations, and Shanita will start us up with the topic.
So the topic for today is basically like story times about some immigration struggles we have had in our experience on our journey. Um, Pretty much we've come to almost come, well, for me, I've come to the final aspect of immigration. Tony is almost to the final aspect of immigration where she's, going for her citizenship soon. Um, but throughout our journey, we've had different little stories that we think, you know, maybe people can gain something from it, learn something from it, or, even relate to our stories. And there's some situations where, honestly, people tend to think, you should know this, or you should know that, or you should ask about this, or you should ask about that. But honestly, life in its entirety, on a whole, which means the same thing, is a learning lesson.
True.
And sometimes you don't always get it right the first time.
Correct.
Sometimes you have to climb for a very long time before you could get to your destination, and that's okay. That's what it's called life. It is all about, you know, going and going and going until you reach the point that you want to reach.
Correct.
So to start off one of my stories, I will say, before I became a student, I think this was in the year 2012. I was here on vacation, and I had read up on this thing. Maybe I didn't read it so properly, because to be honest, there are times I read things and I filled out applications and I didn't do it correct, and that would have been on me, not on anybody else. But in this case, I was just visiting Canada, and but I wanted to go to school here because I obviously, was interested. And then before, I had applied to school in America too, actually, and I actually got into school in America, but it didn't work out. And so I decided, you know what, I'm in Canada already, and there was something back then, I don't know if they still have it, called um, becoming a student, well, in the country. And I decided, you know what, that would be good for me to actually apply to be a student, well, in the country, because I'm already here, right?
Right.
So I went into looking at the application. My mom helped me as well, and yeah, and I was staying at my mother's friend's house, and she was looking at certain things, helping me out with certain things too, or whatever. And at one point, we thought at the time it was a good idea to, because I think you had to be, I don't know, I don't remember the exact, like if you had to be in Canada for a certain time first or whatever. I don't remember the specifics, but all I know is that we decided to go out the country and come back in the country. That way it would have renewed, like, my timing, so that I could apply or something like that.
Right.
So we went across the border, down Niagara Falls, I think it was. Yeah, Niagara Falls. We went across to the other side of Niagara Falls. Stayed, because she also wanted to do something over there as well. We stayed in a hotel for, I think, 2 nights or something like that, and then we came back across. When we came back across, obviously you got to stop at immigration.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, this was such a long time ago. I don't remember the exact everything, but I would never forget what one of the immigration persons told me. Like, she was an old white woman. I remember. I'm not being biased, but I'm saying I feel like she was being biased too anyway. But let's not go into that. Um. So I came in and I showed her my passport, etc., etc. And basically, she put some writing in my passport, and she told me, you would never go to school here, you would never study in Canada, you would never work in Canada. Those are the words that I remember the most. Those are the words that stuck with me pretty much forever, for a long. In fact, I can remember it today. Those words literally stuck with me. And she told me, you know what, I'm gonna put a paper in your passport if you don't leave Canada, because she said you have to leave Canada now, because basically what she's saying, your clothes and stuff, your suitcase, obviously I didn't want with all of my stuff. So she said, you could go and pack up and do what you have to do or whatever, but within this month, I want you out to Canada. And she said, I will not, you will never be able to go to school, you'll never be able to work, whatever. And she said, I'm going to put a paper in your passport that states that you have to leave. If when you leave and you go through the airport, they're gonna take out the passport. They're gonna take out the paper so that you don't have any issues traveling back and forth. But you could still come as a visitor to Canada, right? But the other stuff is a no. Cause I told her, I want to, go to school, whatever, whatever. So she put this paper in my passport, and of course, at the time, I felt like horrible, as I feel with any other journey I'm going through, and it's a struggle, right? So I felt horrible, but I told my mother, you know what? I'll just come. I'll just go home. My mother said, yeah, just come along home, and when you get home, we will go from there. So I went through the airport. The people took the paper out my passport, and I went home. So that was I would say that happened in June or July, around that time, because it was coming into summer. That happened, right? When I got home, my family and I discuss it, and my mother said, you know what? Don't watch what she tell you. You want to go school up there? Because me, notice, my mother also, I didn't really watch the word notice. But I was going to say, the thing is, my mother actually went to school in Canada too in 2001, right? She was a graduate. She didn't graduate, but she actually finished her program and has a diploma also from at George Brown College, right? So my mother told me, you know what, if you want to go school up there, um, don't listen to what she say. You don't listen to her. She's not God at the end of the day. And then she said, you know what, let me go through the process. Let we get what we need to get. Let me go through the application with a fine tooth comb type thing, and we gonna reapply. Literally, I applied that same year. That was no, that was
No,
2012.
it had to be 2013 because you left in 2013.
Okay, so that I probably got the year wrong. I said 2012, but that year was 2013, not 2012.
Right.
It was 2013 that this woman told me all this stuff, that I came up here on vacation, and the woman told me all that stuff, and I went back home. 2013, not 2012. So what happened is we went home and we did what we had to do. Literally within December of the same year, 2013, I was back on the plane to go to Canada as an international student,
With an international student
permit at the same George Brown
Thank
College.
God do it.
And that is just to say, regardless of what people tell you, don't let nobody write your story for you. I could have come home. I could have said, look, she said all this mean stuff to me. She was just the worst. She tear down my feelings. She made me feel horrible, whatever, whatever. And she said, and she's an immigration officer. She said I would never do this and I would never do that, right? But I say, you know what? As my mom said, she is not God. And at the end of the day, she's not going to stop me from trying. At least if I try, I know I try, right? So, and because of that, I ended up coming back to Canada on a student permit. So, that's to encourage people. No matter what you're doing, no matter what your struggle is at the moment, just keep going. Because you never know when you're going to get your breakthrough.
True.
That's story number one for you. You
All
can
right.
tell your story.
So my story
So I
is
will keep
now
talking.
as per usual. But my story now was when I was actually about to graduate from um, secondary school. It was in the same 2013. So ironic that my sister and I we went through certain things together in the same year. But I remembered my mom was telling me, like I was going 17 at the time. Um, and my mom was telling me, you should reach out to your great aunt and ask her if she can sponsor you because once you're under 18 and she can be your guardian and then she can sponsor you. And
You wanted to
because I wanted to go to
to.
school here in Canada at the time.
Mhm.
So, anyways, I would have reached out to my great aunt, And I told her like I want to become a nurse, and I would like to go to school there in Canada, and I would like to know if she can sponsor me. We will pay for the tuition and stuff such like whenever that time comes, but I just want somebody to sponsor me. And my great aunt told me, and I will never forget her words. She said to me, I will have to pray about it. This is now 2026. This is 13 years since she has been praying about it. But anyways, she said to me too that she thinks that Barbados is the best place for me to study at the time, and that is very expensive here in Canada to study, which is true. Because I wanted to do a degree program as well. So that's what she said to me. And I felt disappointed, yes, so I felt sad and stuff like that. And it so happened that that happened in 2013. I went to sixth farm then for that year when I should have been in Canada, but hey. And then, funny enough, I did a year at the sixth farm, and then I came to Canada with Shanita in 2014, and we spent 6 months together living with each other at that time when she was still in school. After which, I went back home, had to get a game plan, and I applied to the community college back home, Barbados Community College. And for some reason, by the grace of God, I got in the first time because after hearing people's stories about applying to BCC for the nursing program, I realized that this was a God thing because, to be honest, so many people would have applied and got turned down. So I was blessed to, get in and stuff. And then from there, I just did my nursing or whatever. And I told Shanita that I want to come up to go to school. Cause I was traveling back and forth to Shanita. Like she was always telling me, Tony, when you ready, come, just come. So I thank God for my sister. Although she gets on my nerve, I have to thank God for my sister because she always kept the door open for me, and she liked to always tell me she give me 15 points, but she gave me a home to stay in. So I'm eternally grateful to her. But she tell me as soon as you done college, get yourself together and come and go to school up here so that we could be up here together. And I had a setback because COVID hit. I was originally supposed to come to Canada to go to school in 2020, but COVID hit and I still didn't write my registration exam back home. So I had to work a year and a half, and then I came to Canada then in 2021 in December, and I have not left since. So again, people set boulders to trip you up, but when God pushes away those boulders and He does His thing, you get to your final destination. And that's just an encouragement because a lot of people think that we got through easy in this life in terms of getting here. It took me about 6 to 7 years to actually live in this country. So you might see us here saying, "Oh, I've been in Canada for 5 years. Shane have been in Canada for 13 years. Come December and me December as well." But we have a story to tell. Everybody that comes to this country has a story to tell. So yeah, that was my little story, my
Yeah.
struggle.
So another story I have is okay. So that was one of my trip up, so to speak. And then I came up here, and then afterwards, just to give a little idea of what I went through, on my first ever journey as a student in Canada, because yes, we were. The good thing is Canada was not new for us
Right.
because we were always traveling to Canada as kids, and we lived in Canada for a good little while. But while my mother was in school, so we were like, when people talk about being newcomers or whatever, the weather is a factor, the country itself being so big is a factor, living with um, diversity, different types of people, different types of colors, different types of whatever, that's another factor. But for us, we didn't really have that issue because we were always here. So even though certain other things might have been struggles for us, those weren't struggles. Um, but While being here, I remember just to share with people to give some encouragement for those who might be either going through it or may go through it in the future. Um, when I first came, and I was fortunate enough to come in, Canada was not overly expensive in terms of rent and housing. But when I first came, we had to find somewhere to stay because we originally had somewhere to stay. But as things happen, you know, you just have one plan, and sometimes the plan just don't plan. The plan don't work, right? So you kind of gotta go with a backup plan. And so I was staying at a friend with the intention to rent a room. My mom obviously came with me to help me to settle in. Um, and so we stayed at this friend for about the original plan was us for us to stay at the friend for about 3 weeks because school started for me in January, right, 2014. I came in December 2013, and I think it was 2 weeks in, 2 weeks in of us being at his house with his mom, dad, and brother, that his mom started to get really irritable. Like she felt, I don't know, like she felt like you know uncomfortable with us being there, and this lady one, as you know, in December is starting to be very cold and. At that time, I believe it was also snowing, and this lady went out in the snow to try to find a place for us, a room for me to stay. Like she just didn't want us there, and we felt it. We knew. So my mother told me, Washinta, let us get it and start, asking questions. At that time, people used to post rooms for rent in the at the bus stops. They don't really do it now.
You might see
The
a
other
little one
day,
or
see
two.
like one post the other day, but before it used to be all over the bus stops. Every bus stop you go to, you will almost see somebody got a room for rent, right? And and then other people will tell you what people they know that renting places and so on and so forth. So we got to and we started searching for a place, and we were fortunate enough to find a place, a room. And as I said, for the month of January, I think my mom stayed with me for that month of January, from December to January when they came up, and then I think she left at the end of January. And of course, it was very. I was at the time I was what 21,
Yeah.
20 or
20, you
21.
were 21. You were
Okay.
turning 22 in 2014.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, at
Yes,
the
please.
time,
1 second. I am very good with numbers and remembering ages, so that's why she's gonna ask me.
so anyway, so at the time it was a little nerve wracking because you're staying at this family, you don't really know nothing much about them, and this is it's just a weird situation where you renting a room for people you don't really know, but that's the reality of here. You go to people's places, you don't know them like that, but you're renting from them, so basically that becomes your home. And the way it was an actual apartment that they were renting just a room in their apartment. So I had to literally see these people every day, use the bathroom. I believe there was like two bathrooms. One in the mother's, because it was a mother and her children. They were African. They were from Nigeria. So anyway, um, the mother had a bathroom in her bedroom, and then I had like it was me and the other her children that shared a bathroom. Um, For the most part, it was a pretty big room. I did not furnish it because I had no intentions of staying there. I only had intentions of staying there when I was in school. I did not work because I didn't have to work. I was fortunate enough to have to come up with some money in my bank account. Um, and my parents helped me with some money. My boyfriend today, he's my boyfriend now. Back then, he was also my boyfriend. So we kind of found back each other and fell back in love or whatever. But at the time, he was my teenage boyfriend, and he also helped me out with some money as well. I was not a big spender, so I literally didn't have to like work. That's not everybody's case. That was just my situation. And I also, like I said, I wasn't a big spender. And we did not furnish the room. My mom wanted to go and buy a nice little bedroom set or whatever. And we started with a dresser and stuff. And then afterwards, I told my mother, you know what? I don't want it. I don't want this dresser. I don't want nothing. Because bringing stuff will make it feel like mine, and I didn't want it to feel like mine. That was just a my own situation. I didn't want to dress up my room because I knew my plan was to get out of there. Right? I was just focused on school and getting out of there afterwards. So basically, I asked my mom to carry back the dresser that she bought, which she agreed. And I mean, it was extra money in our pockets, and so we carried it back, right? And then after that, I basically just had a mattress. I was just basically laying down on a mattress. I had no furnishings, nothing, and that was fine for me. I remember a time my cousin from Barbados was visiting Canada, and he came. He asked to come see me, and so I asked the lady that I was telling her, that my cousin wanted to come over for a little bit, and she said sure, whatever. And when he came, he was like, oh my gosh, are you fine? Are you okay? Because he said it was just a mattress on the ground. But I was like, I'm fine, like I'm good, because I didn't want that type of furnishing. So Tony used to come and visit. My parents would come and visit. The lady actually never made a fuss about my family coming at times. Um, and to be honest, she was a pretty good person overall. I didn't have a problem with her. Her son, used to do little things to irritate me at times. Like during the winter, he would keep his bedroom window open because I guess he just loved the coolness or whatever. And he would wait till, because my agreement was that I lived there, I had to do some chores or whatever, and I agreed to clean the bathroom, obviously. So as soon as I finished cleaning the bathroom, he would just come and hop right into the bathroom, But he's a guy, So I ain't really, you're just trying to live peaceably among people, and I didn't make a big deal about things that didn't need to be made into an issue. I just did what I had to do. And after school was finished, I literally told my mother it's time for me to leave, and we started the process of looking for a basement apartment. This story is becoming a little long, but I will finish it off by this. Well, getting ready now to merge into the after school, because now obviously you're done school or whatever, you don't have to go into the work.
The world of work.
Right. So I wanted to get a work permit. So now, well, after getting my basement apartment, I'm moving out from where I used to live in the room. I decided now I wanted to apply for a work permit. So we had this other we had this person that we knew really well, and he's a consultant, but he was pretty far. This is one of the biggest mistakes I ever made, and to this day my mom still talks to me about it too. And because work was so close and I didn't really want to miss work, I decided to go to a lawyer that was close by, a very well known lawyer, instead of going to the consultant. To this day, after that situation that happened, I've always used the consultant's son because his son took over the business. And this consultant is one of the best immigration people I know. I love him. He has our back right through, and
he helped Shanita and he helped me, and
he helps who, like, he comes almost like family now for us. He's where is he? He's Canadian, but he's like
Jewish, I think.
I don't know if he's Jewish or not, but he's one of those things. I can't remember. But he's amazing. He is amazing. I have nothing but good things to say about him. But at the time, I should have gone to his dad, and instead, because like I said, because of work, I went to this immigration lawyer, and this lawyer literally I think I paid him $2,500. He took my money, wrote all the wrong information about me in my application. He didn't take his time with my application. Nothing happened right. And then when my application was done, the result came in, or the answer came in, and the people told me they refused my work permit, and they told me to go home, because that's what immigration is, tell you go home, right? So now I'm feeling devastated and all that stuff. And this is another story of never giving up. After that situation, this is what this lawyer told me. Oh, well, you can go home and come back again. Go home and just come back and start all over. And in my head, I was like, go home? And my mother said, no, you won't go home. Let me go to this consultant that which is the guy's father. But at the time, we realized that the father had retired and it was his son, which is our consultant. Now I call him our consultant because anytime we have any immigration, anybody with immigration, we refer them to him basically, even though we're at the stage we're at now. But I went to see him and he told me, I'm glad you didn't go home because if you went home, you would have just thrown everything out the window. And so that's the time now when he really started on my case, and that would be another story time. But that just goes to show the struggles that we have gone through. Regardless, it's just the most important thing is just not to give up. Even with somebody that has such what's the word I'm looking for? Like, yeah, and well known as this best immigration lawyer and all this stuff. I guess my case might not have been a big case for him because he just didn't care about my case. He saw it as a low $2,500, nothing at all. I would have wished he had told me, you know what, your case is not something I'm interested in right now, so go to somebody else. You know what I mean? But he took the $2,500, and I don't feel like he really took his time with the case. When I look back at the application, because I told him to give me the application that he sent out, there were a lot of mistakes. You know, it was a lot of issues. And so it just shows, even when you have people like that working for you and it don't work out, don't give up. You would usually go for a lawyer before a consultant. But it's our consultant that has got me through work permits, PR. Well, he ain't really do my citizenship for me. I did that by myself, but he encouraged me. He told me, Shinta, you could do that by yourself. And he didn't have to tell me that, because that was something that he could have got money from me for. If he decided, look, Shinta, let me do the citizenship for you. But you know what he said? He was like, no, man, you could do that yourself. You know, and Tony knows well. Like, if we needed anything, he would be like, I'll pay it for you. You could pay me back afterwards or whatever. So it's about finding somebody that you trust.
And he's very good, and I always recommend people to him. Up till recently, I recommended a friend to him because he is caring, and he's not one of those consultants, you know, that everything is money, money, money. He's nothing like that. Like, I remembered I received, and this is my last little story, but I remember that I wasn't getting my PR, um like it wasn't coming in the mail, but I had to travel. I really needed to travel that time, and I told him, look, if it is that the PR is with you, um send it down and it will pay or whatever. And I also told my neighbor downstairs as well to keep checking my mailbox to see if anything came from immigration or whatever. And it so happened that as soon as I landed in Barbados, about 2 days later, his the consultant secretary was like, um, we have your PR, when can you come for it? I told her I was in Barbados, and can you please DHL it to me or FedEx it to me, and I will pay on my return. And I spoke to my consultant, and he said, okay, he'll send it or whatever. He gave me the code and everything, and I was like, all right, how much I have for you? And he was like, don't worry about it, enjoy your vacation. And those are things that would cause you to, you know, continue to have his back, and he have our back, and it refer people to him. And that's what he continue to do, to refer people to him. He's phenomenal.
Phenomenal. And that's, for me, that's in any job I go in, I want to be like that, to help people when, you know, even though we were in a position where we could pay, they, you know, when people are not up there, you know, are they're not in a position where they can help themselves at the moment, um, you want to be somebody that can help other people, not people taking advantage. But when you build that level of trust with people, then you know that, you know, see, because it's the same thing with me too. When I was at in Barbados another time, um, and you know, my work permit and one of the work permits that I had applied for didn't come through, and I went to Barbados without it. And when I came back, he said, before I came back, he said, you know what, if anything, if the immigration people give you any issues, just call me. I'll come to the airport or whatever. But it just so happened that I ended up with a great immigration person. He told me, you know what, you could go alone, but just make sure the next time you're traveling, walk with the work permit or whatever. But it's good to have those type of relationships, when you end up meeting people, first of all, allow people to know that you're trustworthy. That's the first thing. Because when you let people know that you're trustworthy, then people have no problem putting their neck, so to speak, out on the line for you.
Right.
But yeah, we've had definitely had struggles. That's just, we could put this as a part one video. I already at 30 minutes. But we've definitely had struggles. But you know what? Is not giving up. That is the most important thing.
Exactly. So, thank you for watching our videos, and let us know, any immigrants that watch our videos, let us know, we can let us know your stories, share with us, and we'll be happy to read them and stuff like that. um, Continue to like,
Share,
and subscribe. Until next time.
bye.
Bye.